Rahman. However, the intellect that could be cited or seen in scientists or certain people who are known to be knowledgeable, but at the same time they don't have deen, they are not, they don't really worship through this intellect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as defined by the Imam. That is not really considered as intellect according to the definition or according to the teachings of the Ahl Bayt and the Quran, but rather the Imam says this is actually nakara. This is actually a cunning sort of reality that resembles aql. The Imam, he himself says that this is something shabih, that this is something, resembling intellect, but this is not really aql. This is not really, because we said that intellect is a pure reality according to the hadith of the Prophet, where he says that actually the man his intellect is considered as nur, as light that is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to him. So intellect is a pure material, it is a divine reality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have placed in us. Now the point is that we have to really get in connection to this aql, to this intellect, by which Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, through which or by which basically we will be able to fulfill our journey of perfecting our aql, perfecting our soul, as we spoke about the two models that for the past 2 nights in regards to the cosmological models that we have of creation and also of man, as such. Now last night we pointed out to 2 levels or 2 categories of intellect, of aql. We said that there is aql nazari, which is known as speculative knowledge or speculative intellect, by which we understand certain concepts such as the existence of God, such as the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the speculative intellect have that power to really comprehend that, understand that. Like for example, certain concepts of wajib al-wujud, necessary existence. These are things that our aql tend to really comprehend. But when it comes to practice, there is nothing for it to practice. Having said that, there are certain concepts where this speculative intellect tends to understand, such as generosity. But this generosity can be seen in terms of the practice, where that practice or the practical act is considered as the practical intellect, as the aql amali, where it comes into practice. Now the question was that if I have this speculative knowledge of spirituality or of kamal, of perfection, that a person when he is praying, he is focusing only on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he doesn't really focus on anything else but Allah and the awsaf of Allah and the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's engaged in that, he does not feel anything, just like how Amirul Mu'mineen was in sajda and they pulled the arrow out and Amirul Mu'mineen did not feel anything. Okay, that's sort of like a speculative understanding of spirituality, of tawheed, of prayer, of worship, or whatever that may be. Now practically speaking, the practical aql, I am not on the level of Amirul Mu'mineen where they will pull the arrow, I will not feel. I will feel the very text that vibrates in my telephone, in my in my pocket while I'm praying. Forget the pulling of the arrow from the feet, right? So there's a difference in terms of, yes, I may have that speculative understanding to a certain extent, that intellectual understanding, that speculative intellect by which I could understand the concept of spirituality and of wajibul wujud, of the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I may try to really focus in terms of that, but when it comes to the practical aql, I may not be able to be on that level to carry out this act, that I be in ruku on top of the roof of Imam Rada alayhi salam, the ice reaches 1 feet or whatever on my back. No. Practical aql is not there. The practical intellect is not there for me to really carry out that act. So I have this speculative understanding. Now what is required is that ma'rifat, or that understanding of how to practically implement what I am understanding. Practically, intellectually implement this speculative, this understanding of the intellect of those principles. How can that be possible? To what level, to what extent I can do it? Like for example, we tend to hear these stories that, there was this family and they had no money and they wanted to do majlis of Imam Hussein. So even this family sell his own child in order to have majlis for Imam Hussein, masalan. And then all of a sudden this child, came back to them because they dedicated to him. Yes, it's all good. We could, for example, appreciate that. Intellectually speaking, there may be some place of that in terms of the importance of the majlis and the reality and the miracle that it could happen because of the sincere dedication of this husband and wife towards the majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But when it comes to the practical aql, yes, that was particular for that family, not for me. If I try to do that, then there is a bit of a, mishap or a miscommunication between the speculative understanding and the practical aql. So my act will not be considered as an act of aql, as an aqli act, as an intellectual act. So I have to discern that. I have to come to understanding that how much of my nafs, as we talk about that model, body, nafs and aql. Now my aql is saying, this is great, do it. But my nafs is very weak to really do that. Right? So I cannot really do that. My nafs is very weak for that. Or my jism is very weak for that. To carry that out. My soul, my nafs hasn't really reached to that highest level or connected to that highest level of my aql where, I could pull the door of Khaybar. Obviously, Amirul Mu'minin who eats dry bread with salt, physically speaking, practically speaking, he will not have that strength to really lift something like that. So where did he really get this strength from? It was the strength of the aql, it was the strength of his nafs that have reached to a point that he's capable to do that. By that, with the qudra, with the power of that spirit. Like as we said, Amirul Mu'minin was invited in 40 places for an invite. And he attended all 40 houses. He was there in all 40 houses. How did he make it happen? Or like these stories that we hear about, Agha Bahjat or Agha say the Qazi or these people that, they do astro body traveling. They travel from, Najaf to Mashhad, for example. He was seen in Mashhad, he was seen in Najaf within few minutes. What really happened, right? So how it is possible for them to do that? Because they have elevated their soul, their nafs, and connected that soul to that aql, to that intellect, to that spirit which is on the other side, and the aql is facing our side. And then through that they are capable enough to do that. They have trained their nafs gradually and gradually, slowly and slowly they have trained their nafs. We have to start from somewhere little. That's why we find within the prescriptions or teachings of the scholars that they would say that, for example, practice point concentration. You concentrate on a point and then try to really, not allow your mind to, go in here and there, and then improve your concentration, and then try to bring that when you are praying salat, for instance, so that your salat, your mind stays in one place, doesn't go all over the place. So through these practice, through, spiritual exercises that are there, and then we reach to that highest level. Now, when we are talking about these spiritual exercises, is very important. That is something that has to come from the Sharia, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have implemented, which Allah have mentioned, which Ahl Bayt have mentioned. That's what we recite, in kuntum tuhibbun Allah fattabi'uni. If you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, follow the Rasul. Follow Rasul. We're going to talk a little bit about love and ishq. As we said, we're going to compare what is aql and what is ishq, in our discussions. So whatever comes from the teachings of the Quran, teachings of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, by implementation of that, the sunnah that is there of the Prophet, by implementation of that, then we will increase our manaviyat and spirituality. There was a man during the time of the sixth Imam, and they say that this man does miraculous things. He would inform you of future, he will inform you of ghaib, what is hidden, what you have done, so on and so forth. So, he will have this power to do. And then the sixth Imam was informed. And about the sixth Imam, this man was informed that there was Imams of the Shias, that he could bring back, life. He could bring back death. He could bring back a person who have died to life. He has reached to that point in terms of their kamalat. So this man says that I would like to learn, I would like to see, I would like to find out. So they both meet. So Imam performed that miracle, and then he said, I want to learn this skill. How do you do that? Then Imam asked him, how did you do this? So he says that everything what my nafs, what my desire says, I do the opposite. If my nafs says, I'm really tired, I want to sleep, I will not sleep. If my desire says that I want to eat, I'm really hungry, I will not eat. If my desire says I should not eat, then that. So everything what my nafs is saying, I will do the opposite, and this way I make my nafs, my soul powerful, strong, so that I could do whatever I command, I could do that. Now here he says that, how about you? He says that we do it with the tawakkul, with the acceptance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the iman. Now he said, I want to have that power as well. Then you have to pronounce La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Then if you pronounce that, then you will be able to do it eventually. Then, however, to reach that, by the time you reach there, all of these things that that you have learned, will vanish, will go away. You will have no power over your nafs. Because Islam means that you step on your nafs. You step on your nafs for lillah. You step on your nafs that you do miraculous things. Not for ego. Not for the self, that, oh, see how strange or how amazing this person is that he does miraculous things, right? He wants to be praised, he wants to be known in public, so he has reached to that maqam through spiritual exercises, right? But here in the case of Islam, there is no ego at all. There is only lillah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Then eventually they say that this man accepted Islam, realizing that the qudra and the power, which Allah and awliya have, is much far more than that. Very similar to Fir'aun and the magicians of Fir'aun and Musa alayhi salam. When Musa alayhi salam showed the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these magicians were bewildered, they were shocked. They said, this is not magic, this is something beyond. And then as they realized that, this is not magic and this is beyond magic, this is from ilm, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they accepted and they brought iman upon the miracle of Pharaoh. So therefore, what we are trying to say is that it is possible for a soul to really train itself and to reach to a point where it could project itself in 40 different places, right? Have these hollow bodies in 40 different places which look like real. And Sadra also discusses this in transcendental philosophy. One of the famous works in philosophy of Mullah Sadra is Asfar-e Arba, which is taught in the Hauza, the final level of philosophy, where he discusses this. It is possible for the aql to really project that, for the aql, for the intellect to really do that. So what we are saying is that there has to be a synchronization of the aql nazari, of the speculative aql, with the aql amali. There have to be a relationship and synchronization of that. Many a times when we are acting, our actions are not based on aql amali. There is no aql in our action. Many a times it's like that. Because first of all, we haven't really understood what aql is. We think that aql really means something that is material, calculation, logic, rationalization of things, and then we make a decision. For example, when a person makes a true decision based on aql, there is no ifs and buts. It is not possible that this could be, an error in it, because he is basing on that divine light. Imam Hussein based his decision of taking women and children on the divine light. Not it was a miscalculation, na'uzubillah, that, I'm going to Kufa, so many people wrote letters, so I'm going to be victorious. No. When Hork decided to come to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that was based on aql, ma'awida bihi rahman, the intellect, not based on, calculations such as, if I go, what will happen? If I become victorious, maybe I become the governor of this place or that place, or war spoils, it will be given to me, so on and so forth. Not on that aqli calculation, because it clearly sees, we could clearly see that when somebody is deciding to join Imam Hussein alayhi salam, a material aql will say that this is strange, that you're going to be martyred and killed, but still you're joining Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein is aware of it, but still he's taking women and children, right? So one would say that this doesn't look logical. It doesn't really fit our understanding of it. Could be an intellectual decision, but our aql, we are calculating on something that is, that we think, from a material point of view. But what the how aql is defined by the Quran and by Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam is a divine material. It has a divine substance. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So just wanted to, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now, this was just, probably, how shall I say, misunderstanding that how can it be possible that these scholars that we have talked about their lives and their history, in history, that, they are capable of doing these things. It practically doesn't make sense from an intellectual point of view. However, we are calculating according to our material aql, and they have acted upon the practical intellect, which has been synchronized with their speculative intellect, and as it has synchronized, their actions have been, reach that bullseye to provide that takamul of their nafs. Now, a few things I just wanted to share, some of the narrations by which we could really look at how one could really increase one's intellect. What are the Imams saying in regards to increase of intellect? Like, for example, from Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself, he says that by abandoning that which does not concern you, your intellect will be completed. Many times we get involved with things that has nothing to do with us. We get involved, we speak, we pass comments, and even sometimes we forward that message that has come to us, to other people. If we don't do that, it says that, or if you do that within 7 days, you will be lucky, or this will happen, or that will happen. That matter is nothing to do with me as such. However, my aql is saying that to do it. My aql is saying. But what the Imam is saying, that things that doesn't concern really me, by abandoning that which does not concern you, your intellect will be completed. Or in another hadith, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Frequent study of matters of knowledge opens the intellect. Like as we said, knowledge is one of that reality by which the container expands. In a container, if you put in a glass as a container, if you put water, it just has the ability to take 50 ml. But if you put knowledge in the heart, the container of the heart also expands, right? So aql, as it says that it is up there, وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِ, there's a spirit that Allah blown into Adam that is there, which is focusing towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and aql towards us is divine light. Now, how I will increase this divine light? When I expand it with knowledge, the divine lights tend to increase in terms of my heart. As we gave the example, spirit, as the sun shines on the Pacific Ocean, the sun also shines on a small hut. The light that shines on the Pacific Ocean is huge, is bigger than that is shining on the hut. So the spirit of the awliya, the spirit of Imam Hussein, the spirit of the Imams is a very big spirit, is a very powerful spirit. Just like how the sun is shining on the ocean compared to small huts, that is the spirit that they have. Now Imam Hussein have increased that capacity, of that through, once again, by abandoning, by by stepping over desires, so on and so forth, right? And that is why a person reaches to that thorough purification, right? In the case of many of the ashab, and particularly to Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, it says that he was someone who was a masoom, who was an infallible. Yes, we have 14 infallibles, who are masoom, which are the highest level of infallibility that they have, the highest level of spirit that they have, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have provided them. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. اللهم صل على محمد. However, Hazrat Ali Akbar, he was infallible as well, because in the ziyarat which the sixth Imam recites him as Tayyib wa Zaki, somebody who is somebody who is pure, somebody who is purified, who is Zaki, who is pure, right? Who have done that tazkiyah, who have really reached that maqam of infallibility, who have never committed a sin, right? Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. And apart from Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, amongst the contemporary scholars as well, as they say that Bahjat, as we talked about Sayyid Ali Qazi, Sayyid Ali Qazi will not take a student unless or until he is a mujtahid. Bahjat became baligh on the hand of Sayyid Ali Qazi. He wasn't even baligh when he started studying under Sayyid Ali Qazi, and the condition of Sayyid Ali Qazi was that the students must be mujtahid. So that means Bahjat was a mujtahid even before he has reached the age of bulugh, right? So obviously when a person have become that and have that ma'rifat and understanding of what sin will do to a person, he will never commit a sin. He will never commit anything that is a mistake, that will hamper his kamal and perfection, right? In another narration, it said the perfection of the intellect lies in three things, according to the sixth Imam. Number one, he says humility before Allah. One should have that tawadu, humbleness in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one thing that we always need to know that, humbleness in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also means that one should be humble, one should have that quality of humbleness, tawadu in oneself. To be humble in front of the creation is actually being humble in front of Allah as well. Not to be arrogant, right? As they say, if you don't thank lam yashkuril makhluq, if you don't thank makhluq, creation, it is as if you are not thanking Allah. So I have to thank the creation. I can say, I just want to thank Allah. I don't want to thank the creation, the people. So if I don't thank the people, who is doing me a favor, it is as if not thanking God. Al-izzatu lillah wa li rasulihi wa lil mu'minin. The honor, respect belongs to Allah. This is the verse of the Quran. The respect belongs to Allah, belongs to the Prophet, and belongs to the mu'mineen. So I have to respect a mu'min. I have to honor a mu'min. If I don't honor a mu'min or a mu'mina, then it is as if I'm not honoring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So like I said, there are certain principles that Allah have discussed. If you give salams, return the salam in a better way. This means that these principles is applied in everything. It's not just salam. If somebody is kind towards me, I have to be twice as kind towards him. Not just that if he gives salams, I should be giving better salam to him. No, in terms of the behavior as well. If somebody is nice to me, I have to be nicer to that person. That's the principle which Quran is trying to teach us, right? So if one is saying that the aql will become perfect through a person being humble in front of Allah, meaning that also in front of masumeen, also in front of mu'mineen, one have to be humble. One shouldn't be arrogant. Then it says that the Imam says that with husnul yaqeen, which means with strong conviction, having that certainty and yaqeen in the heart. Now, once again, as you all have discussed and know, and many scholars have spoken to us about, ilmun yaqeen, ainul yaqeen, haqqul yaqeen, that there are three types of conviction, three levels of yaqeen that is there. A certainty, conviction that comes with knowledge, a certainty that comes with seeing at it, a certainty comes with, by the essence of it, right? So husnul yaqeen also bring about aql, perfection of intellect. And silence except when speaking good. One should be silent except that one speaks good. One of the things that last night I mentioned, if we want to improve our concentration in prayer, they ask Allama Tabatabai. He said, speak less. Because speaking is like a bird who jumps from one branch to the other. So when I'm speaking from one topic to the other, my mind is just jumping from one place to the other. And through this, my mind will become weak. When my mind will become weak, when there is silence, when I'm not speaking, I'm unable to concentrate. Right? So that's what speaking does. Because when I'm speaking, I'm going from one place to the. I speak something and then I go to another. Just things can get connected to each other. So my mind is getting immune to quick, less focuses. My focus is becoming lesser and lesser, and that's what all of these gadgets tend to do, right? And if you look at even the cartoon, when we were little, when we used to watch cartoon, it used to be so slow, right? But now everything's, very quickly, things have to change, so that the mind should not have that ability to really relax as such, so that one should be engaged, in these things. It's sort of an interaction with the eyes, with what one is seeing and what's happening in a little amount of time. So the mind just loses that how shall I say, that power of concentration. It becomes very weak. It is unable to really concentrate, right? Yes, these things, games, Xbox, so on and so forth, right? How much we are really glued to, and we even. When I stop my son from playing it, he's a different man. He's a different person altogether. It's not the same what I expect him to be, right? Because he is so much engaged with it. He's so much attached to it. His mind have been so much glued to it. Anything else becomes very boring, right? So the same as speaking, is like that. Speak from one place to the other one. It's like jumping off a bird from one branch to the other, he says. So here, speaking silence, except when speaking good. One should be, if there is any good in it, then one should speak, right? And speaking less as well is very important, especially for speakers. There was a man who talked about how speaking less is very important in a speech all night. This means that he really understood, right? So I should be very careful, right? And also about, speaking about different things. They say that I go in tangents and I go in margin and speak about these things, but however, I jump back to my topic, which I'm speaking, right? So speaking less, it's very important, and this gives a person some sort of spiritual strength. When a person speaks less, it gives him some powerful strength, right? And in olden days, not speaking was a form of fasting, right? In Christianity, not speaking was a form of fasting. This means that whatever whatever God have prescribed have some spiritual power and strength within it. God at a given time have prescribed not speaking. And Sayyid Ali Qazi, he says that he had a mark on his lip. And then his student asked him that, what is this mark on your lip? He says that I used to put, sand in my mouth so that I don't speak. Whenever I should feel the pain, I should not speak. So that is called control. Physically reminding oneself of the pain and not doing it. And then he would practice that. For Agha Bahjat, they say that his father, who was a great poetry writer, he used to write Marsiye. Agha Bahjat's father, and many of his poetry is recited in the majalis as well. His father came to know that Agha Bahjat have become the student of Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai. Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai was a very mysterious figure. And usually people who are into mysticism, into irfan, some of the fuqaha, they don't really appreciate that. right? Philosophy is not very much appreciated and was not really appreciated, irfan, mysticism and philosophy, in the seminaries. It happened after the revolution. It happened after, revolution was successful. Then mysticism, irfan and falsafa, philosophy, came into the seminaries. Before Imam Khomeini, or when Imam Khomeini he himself used to teach philosophy, they would say that, his son is his zindiq, meaning that he's a, basically an innovator. He's not even a Muslim. And if he drinks from the water, said Mustafa, if he drinks from that a cup, they would say that break this cup because it has become najis, because his father teaches philosophy, right? So there's always a difference of opinion in regards to philosophy and mysticism in the seminaries, right? And Agha Sayyid Ali Qazi was an expert in irfan, was an expert in philosophy. And at that time, if somebody says that he has become the student of Sayyid Ali Qazi, people will frown upon. People will be like, why? And that's why his father stopped Agha Bahjat from attending the classes of Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai. So it was very difficult for him, because he loved irfan. Agha Bahjat loved mysticism, loved philosophy. And now he's been stopped not to attend the class. A letter came from his father not to attend the classes of him. And he's not pleased with his son if he does. So he comes to Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai with this letter. And he says that, who is your marja? See how important. You learn a lot of things from the stories of our ulama, of our scholars, right? He could have said that, okay, this is just irshad, just an advice. You're talking about Allah, about irfan, you can be my student, no problem. The more the students a teacher have, he is more happy and he is more proud of it, right? He wants to have a lot of students, right? So he could have said that. And on the other hand, as we know that the students of all students of Agha Sayyid Ali Qazi were mujtahid themselves, but still look how much of ihtiyat, how much of precaution that they are practicing. So Agha Sayyid Ali Qazi asked Ayatollah Bahjat that, who is your marja? He says, Sayyid Abul Hasan Isfahani. He was the marja of that time. Sayyid Abul Hasan Isfahani, a great figure. Then go and ask him. So he goes to Sayyid Abul Hasan Isfahani and asks him, this is what my father says, not to attend the classes of this teacher. So Sayyid Abul Hasan Isfahani said, well, this is what your father is saying, though you cannot attend, that's it. Then Agha Bahjat says that I stopped speaking to everybody because I was hurt so much that I did not want to engage with anyone, and I wasn't speaking. And if I want something, I would write. I would go to the shopkeeper and I'll write, I want, yogurt, for example. And he would use the back door. He would not go from the front door of the school, because if he goes from the front door, he will meet a lot of people. So he used to use the back door if he has to go outside, right? So he stopped speaking, and they asked at the end of his life, because to Agha Bahjat, that what did you achieve by this practice, by not speaking, and also listening to what father really wants him to do. Two things are here, right? He says that God gave me, or opened the doors of knowledge for me, that he wouldn't have opened while being the student of Sayyid Ali Qazi. Because of two reasons. Perhaps is not speaking, that he was practicing, training his soul, his nafs. He only speaks when it is very much required to speak. And number two, listening to what his father really wants from him. These are the two very important, which really made him reach that perfection and kamal and that aql, that intellect, right? So that's what Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Then in another narration in regards to the evidence of weak intellect, the evidence of weak intellect according to the Imam, he says that is lack of intellect is keeping company with ignorant people, people who are jahil. If a person keeps, it's very important to have good company, to have good friends, because friends influence our our thinking, the way we eat, the way we drink, the way we live, it's very important to have good company, to have good friends. Yes, we may get upset, for example, if we say that, oh, look at that picture in your Instagram, it looks very similar to your friend. So my daughter says that, what are you talking about? This is me, But actually, there is some sort of, obviously, influencing each other. So one have to be very careful in choosing friends. And alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah and by the leadership of Maulana, we have SABA Academy. We have school here. And our children, they are going to the same school. They meet in masjid, they meet in, for majalis, and at the same time they are in school as well. So it's providing, the community is really providing, the center is really providing a good ground to, to have good company, to have good friends, to have, where they have common belief system, the practices are the same. Yes, I know some fathers were complaining that, my child loves Urdu Matam and he's there all the time, doing Urdu Matam after they finish, although he's an Arab and he's speaking Urdu at home, So I told the father that it's better that you invest in learning Urdu, So that's how things are influenced. I mean, this child is an Arab, from an Arab father, but however, he is there every night. I see him doing Matam in Urdu Majlis, It's so cute, it's so nice, right? So this is how we influence each other, right? We have to have good company. We have to have good friends, right? It's very important because we have a hadaf. We have a goal. We have a purpose. We are very different to people who are, different in the sense that in terms of our goals, we have a purpose in life. Imam Hussein did not sacrifice his life just for, the sake of sacrifice or whatever, because he wanted to be the Khalifa and the other person was in power, so he killed him. No, there was a purpose for that sacrifice. Hazrat Zainab sacrificed, her 2 sons and herself for a reason, so that Islam remains, so that we sit here and discuss, so that we learn, so that we become good human beings. They have done for a reason. And things have come to us. Now, as these things have come to us, we have to take care of them. And we have to hand it to our children and our next generation. There's a purpose for that. You think that Tashayyu and Shiaism have just reached, out of nowhere, or it's just happened? No. Lot of difficulties, lot of pain. Our ulama, our scholars, awliya, followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, Hajjaj bin Yusuf will not have his breakfast unless there is a head of a Shia brought to him. That's how it was. That's how it was difficult for them. Today I was reading an article in Malaysia in the Jummah prayer. They said that, they should, one should be careful of the Shias. This is heretic and they should not be allowed. In Malaysia, the civilized, modern society, and in the prayers they are attacking the Shia ideology. They're saying that this is not right. Right? So I mean, where we have reached, a lot of sacrifices have gone into this. And if we do not take care of this, we will be answerable. We will be asked that what we have done with this. Right? And all of this is for what? All of this is for us to become a better human being. That's what Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, that death to me is much better. An honorable death is better to me, hayat min adhillah, than a life without dignity. Tashayyu, Islam means to be dignified, to be honorable in the eyes of Allah, in the eyes of people. That's what it is, right? So therefore, good company is very important. A sign of a weak intellect is that a person who have, weak intellect. The other hadith is a very difficult one. I don't know I should read it or not. What do you say? Shall I read it or not? Yes? Oh my God. You make it difficult. He whose intellect is weak has bad oratory. So his khutbah, his speech is very bad. So I was not planning to read this, but your salawat made me. So evidence of lack of intellect is aspiration. Overly high aspirations are a result of a corrupt intellect, having long hopes, planning, It's good to plan with the tawakkul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As they say that live in this world as if you're going to live forever. Prepare for the hereafter as if you're going to die next hour. Right? That's how it's well balanced. You have to have that balance. Right? So, however, having longer hopes, this is something that Islam has not allowed. Right? Because if a person have long hopes, he's not focusing on the hereafter. He's having long hopes in this dunya. Not long hopes in the sense of akhirah, but long hopes in this dunya. That he's not prepared for the hereafter. He's not prepared to die. He hasn't written his will. That's what it means. So a person who have long hopes is an indication of a weak intellect. Because, death is something, as they say, closest thing to man is death. Closest thing to man is death. Because he doesn't know what's going to happen next minute. Right? That's his closest thing. Why? Because now just a reminder in the margin, going back to the cosmological chart of the Jabarut, Malakut and the Mulk. In Jabarut we said we have Mumit. In the Malakut we have Malakul Maut. And in the Mulk we have death. And death is much closer to man than himself. Why? Because God is closer to man than his own jugular vein. See how everything connects to each other? To that equation, to that chart that we have talked about. Because God is closer to the jugular vein. And one of the names of God is Mumit, the one who gives death. Right? So therefore, long hopes tend to provide, lack of intellect is an indication of that. Now, how to increase one's intellect? I will mention 2 hadiths and then we'll focus upon the historical aspect of our discussions that we have. The intellect, how to increase? I think we mentioned frequent study of matters of knowledge. It will increase our intellect. The perfection of intellect lies in 3 things, which is humbleness. We have to increase our humbleness. Strong conviction, yaqeen. We have to increase that, and speaking less as well. We'll do that. Now, tonight is the night of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. I just wanted to point out a few things in regards to Hazrat Ali Akbar's mother particularly, because the success story of Karbala is because of the mothers, that we see in Karbala. It was Fatima salamullah alayha who trained and did tarbiyat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. It was Fatima who trained Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha, Kulsum salamullah alayha. It is the mother of Wahab who trained Wahab to be Wahab. Right? It is the mother of Hazrat Hor. It is the mothers who have played a great role in Karbala and also after Karbala. Not just in Karbala, but after Karbala as well. To really take the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and to deliver. We as a human, as male figures are indebted to these women. Now, the respect of our women today is actually respect of Fatima. The respect of any woman is the respect of Fatima, as a matter of fact. Because Fatima is the prototype of all women. Right? So we have to have that. Many a times, unfortunately, we tend to forget that. The ihtaram and the respect that women should have is not really provided. It has been a male-dominant society. And even today, unfortunately, after Islam have come, still, we get calls from sisters, the amount of zulm that has been done by the husbands and so on and so forth. It's very unfortunate to really attend these things, right? Still we see the same pattern of that zulm upon women. Now when it comes to the success of Karbala, we said that a great support from women towards, Abiha, she is the mother of the father, that's Fatima. Now Hazrat Layla salamullah alayha, who was the mother of Hazrat Ali Akbar. There are 2 different reports, and the historians haven't really concluded clearly whether she was present in Karbala or not. Some say she was present, some say she wasn't present. We will look at the report which usually is mentioned by our scholars, where indicates the presence of Hazrat Layla in Karbala, in the plain of Karbala. In regards to her grandfather, the grandfather of Hazrat Layla was considered to be one of the great companions of the Prophet. And he was someone who was known as Urwa. Urwa ibn Mas'ud. He was known to be the ashab of Yasin. He has been mentioned by the Prophet as the companions of Yasin. In the Surah Yasin, there's a story of Habib bin Najjar, a Christian who was the messenger of the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was persecuted and he was killed. He was shaheed. And the Prophet compared the grandfather of Layla to this personality, because initially he was known to be a person who have the art of reading and writing, the grandfather of Layla. Because reading and writing amongst the Arab was very prestigious, was very unique and special. Only few people knew how to read and write. And for the Arabs, the Jews and the Christians were looked with high respect, because they were considered as a people of the book. They have a book, because book itself, reading, was of value, right? Amongst the Arabs, it's well known. Now you have a group of people who is following a religion that they are the people of the book, which means that there was a high regard for them. And all of a sudden, in the middle of nowhere, here comes the Prophet talking about the Christians and Jews and about their book and what is in their book. This was really a miracle in itself. That what's going on? This man who does not know how to read and write, and he's talking about the knowledge which is in the religion of these people who are respected by the Arabs and who have a book. Right? So this is also the miraculous aspect of Rasulullah, that he's eloquently speaking about that. About the religion of the Jews, who were like white collar sort of people. They really kept themselves away from these people, idol worshippers, these people who are jahil, who fight with each other, so on and so forth. We are the Jews, we are the people of the book, we are the Christians. Now here Prophet comes from the Gentiles, and then he's talking about reading, he's talking about the verses of the Torah, the verses of the stories in the Bible, so on and so forth. This was really fascinating. It was really amazing. Now here, the grandfather of Layla is known to be having the art of reading and writing, and also was a very rich person. There's a verse in the Quran which says, لَوْ نُزِّلَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ عَلَى رَجُلٍ مِنَ Qaribin and Adim, apparently. If this Quran was revealed to that man, because he was someone who could read, he could write, and he was rich as well. He had loads of money. He was very rich. So when Prophet was reciting Quran, when Prophet was talking about that, they say that there's a verse in the Quran which says, if this Quran were revealed to this person, we could have believed. But it has revealed to a person who is who does not know how to read and write, for example. That was the logical argument which the Quran is pointing out to, perhaps. So he was well known. And then he converted to Islam, and he asked the Prophet that, allow me that I go to my qawm, to my people, and teach about Islam. This is the grandfather of Layla. Prophet said, no, they will kill you. Then he insisted. And then finally made finally Prophet agreed, and then he went. When he went to preach, he was persecuted. And one day he was given azan from a roof. They shot arrows at him. And then while giving azan, he became shaheed. And the news came to the Prophet. It was brought by his son, who was the father of Hazrat Layla, grandfather of Hazrat Ali Akbar. And the news was brought by the father to the Prophet, and Prophet said, this reminds me of the story of Habib, the ashab of Yasin. They praised him and prayed for him, and his wasiyah was to be buried with the shuhada, and he was buried with the shuhada. And his father also brought Islam, the son, his son and the father of Layla also brought Islam. So he comes from this lineage, and the mother of Layla was the daughter of Abu Sufyan. So when Muawiyah was asked that, Muawiyah asked his friends that who is more capable of being Khalifa at this time, because he was Khalifa at the time. Muawiyah was known to be the Khalifa for Muslims, isn't it? So they said, you. They said, no, it is actually Ali ibn al-Hussein, because he also have the family sort of likeness from Abu Sufyan, and also from this side, he has this ashab of Rasulullah, the companion of Rasulullah who was Shaheed, and also from the side of Hussein, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and Ali ibn Abi Talib. So he had best of both tribes in him, in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the courage. So Muawiyah said it is him. So Ali ibn al-Hussein was well known, amongst the Arabs. The age of his death, they are different, once again, reports. Some say he was 18 to 27. But when we look at the birth of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, which is in Shaban, which is in 36th after Hijrah, and then you have 61 after Hijrah, which is the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, kind of makes us decide that his age was 25. And he was known as Ali Akbar. And Imam Zainul Abidin, who is the son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam as well, was 23 in Karbala. And he was Ali Akbar, meaning that he will be bigger than Ali. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam named all his children Ali, and named all his daughters Fatima. This clearly shows that how Imam Hussein was attached and in love of Ali and Fatima. And also this shows that the name of Ali was not something very much liked by the Arabs. They used to call the curse on Imam Ali alayhi salam from the mimbar in Syria, in Sham. So they didn't really like that name. And this was fading away. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam established that sunnah to really name and remind people of Fatima and Ali. That's why Imam Hussein on the plain of Ashura said, I am son of Fatima. Imam Hussein reminded them about Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet. So the age, they say, about 25. The other thing of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, which is unique, is that his resemblance to the Prophet. They say that he resembled the Prophet the most. If Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam or any other companion would miss the Prophet, they would say, call Ali Akbar. We would like to look at him. And he resembled the most, from the physical appearance to the akhlaqi. And the akhlaq of Prophet in the Quran is known as khulq azim. The Prophet is known as khulq azim in the Quran. There are two things. There is khalq and khulq. Khalq means the outward appearance. Khulq means the character, which is inside. Khalq is the outside, the takhliq, the khalq aspect. Khulq azim. Prophet is known as the khulq azim, which means that his khulq, his character was azim. And Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, who resembles the Prophet, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam also mentions that, he is the ashbahun nas, he is the most resemble one to the Prophet, Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. And tonight we are commemorating, and there was a scholar who says that tawassul to Hazrat Ali Akbar is very powerful, meaning that interceding Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam in our problems, in our issue. There was a scholar who was facing a lot of troubles, and then he was reminded that how come you don't do tawassul to Hazrat Ali Akbar? How come you do not intercede Hazrat Ali Akbar for resolving your problems? He goes to the haram of Imam Hussein. As you know that Hazrat Ali Akbar is buried at the feet of the father. Only in that haram of Imam Hussein, there are 3 shuhada. One is Ali Asghar on the chest of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and Ali Akbar at the feet of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Right? And the other shuhada are buried all together, except that there is a haram for Abul Fazl, So you have Hazrat Ali Akbar at the feet, and this scholar says that I went there and I did tawassul to Hazrat Ali Akbar. Tawassul means interceding, as Hazrat Ali Akbar in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then in 3 days, my difficulties and problems were resolved. So Hazrat Ali Akbar was someone who resembled the Prophet most. And Hazrat Ali Akbar in the ziyarat, the 6th Imam recites that, O Akbar, who is the son of Hassan and Hussein. Imam Hassan is also being mentioned there. So what does he really mean? Sheikh Saduq says in the commentary of this ziyarat that Imam Hassan was the one who did tarbiyat of Ali Akbar. As Imam Hassan did tarbiyat of Ali Akbar, he becomes the son of Imam Hassan, because father are 3. It is your father, or your father-in-law, or your teacher as a father. He's known as a father. Your teacher who does your tarbiyat, he's known, he has the maqam of a father. So when Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam is referring in the ziyarat that Ali Akbar is the son of Hassan and Hussein, that means that he is the son of Hassan in the sense that Imam Hassan Mushtaba was the one who have trained, who have done the tarbiyat of Hazrat Ali Akbar. Hazrat Ali Akbar was the apple of the eye of everyone, of all of Ahl Bayt, because he resembles the Prophet. And there was a special attachment of Hazrat Zainab, salamullah alayha, to Ali Akbar. As they say that when Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam came to seek permission to go to the battlefield, Imam Hussain said, have you taken permission from your aunt? Have you taken permission from Zainab? Go take permission from Zainab. And then Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam took permission from Hazrat Zainab, from the mother Layla, and then comes to Imam Hussain. And they say there are two shaheed, there are two martyrs where Imam Hussain prepared them. One was Hazrat Ali Akbar. He was the one who tied the turban, the amama. He placed the armor. He prepared the steed for Hazrat Ali Akbar. And also for Hazrat Qasim. It was Imam Hussain who prepared, Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam. Now, from the time of Azan of Ali Akbar, because in Fajr of the 10th day, the Azan was given by Hazrat Ali Akbar. Obviously, when Akbar is given Azan, the Azan resembles the Azan of Rasulullah. And this was the very Azan which made Hur changed and moved towards Jannah instead of staying in Jahannam. Because he was there till the sunrise. He was just debating what to do. And the Azan of Ali Akbar comes. He says, this is it. It is the call which resembles. So the Azan of Ali Akbar on the 10th. And this was the last Azan given. Very similar to the Azan of Ali given on the 19th. Because Ali, he himself went and gave Azan. And on the 10th, Ali Akbar was given the task by Imam Hussain. Oh Akbar, you give Azan today. Is the last Azan given by Akbar that the Shuhada have heard. And then here Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam was prepared, and Imam Hussain tied the turban of Rasulullah. Because when he came to the battlefield, everybody said, Rasulullah have arrived, who have come here. And then when Imam Hussain alayhi salam prepared the horse, prepared the steed for Hazrat Ali Akbar, and he sat on it, and then he was going towards the battlefield. And Ali Akbar says that, I noticed that someone is running behind. And then when I turned, it was the father who was running behind and saying, Mahlan, Mahla, slow down, oh Akbar, slow down. And here Hazrat Ali Akbar said, you yourself prepared me. You put the armor on me, and now you are running behind me. And you are restless, and you are in pain and sorrow. He says, Ali Akbar, I am father as well. Although I am the Imam, I prepared you as an Imam that you sacrificed your life for deen, but I am your father to Ali Akbar. As I say, Ali Akbar finally came to the battlefield, and then he fought a furious battle. And once a person who was known to be champion amongst the Arab, very powerful, very strong person, comes to fight Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. And then when he comes, the face color of Imam Hussain changed. And here, the narration where Hazrat Layla is there, here Layla sees, the mother of Ali Akbar sees Imam Hussain and says, what's wrong? Your face color have changed, you look worried. So Hussain says that, I have heard Rasulullah who says the dua of the mother is not rejected. Oh Layla, go and pray that Ali Akbar returns back to us. So Layla goes in one of the tents and she opens the prayer mat and she stands on it and raises the hand. And she says that, oh Allah, who have returned Yusuf to Yaqub, please return my son back. And then as she was doing the dua, Hazrat Ali Akbar defeated this person, this enemy. And then he came back to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When he comes back to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he complains of thirst. He complains of hunger, that, oh, Father, if there be a little water, I will show them how Rasulullah fought. I will show them how Amirul Mu'mineen fought. Although, as the account says, that he had already killed 120 enemies. And then he returned back. When he returns back and he asks for water. Now here Imam Hussein says that, "Oh Akbar, place your mouth in my mouth." As he places his mouth in the mouth of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he pulls back. He says, "Oh father, you are more thirstier than me." How can the father not be that every shaheed who dies, it is Imam Hussein who attends and brings the body back to the tents, and he cries for them. And here Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam goes back again to fight the enemies. As they say that first they used to fight 1-on-1, 2-on-1, 3-on-1. Only alone Ali Akbar, he would be fighting 30 people together. And then here it says, Imam Hussein looks at Layla, "Layla, don't do dua anymore. The time of test have arrived. It is the time of test, of sacrifice have arrived now. And oh Allah, know that this son of mine is the one who resembles the most to the Prophet from the point of view of khulq, from the point of view of the logic and mantiq, from the point of view of aql, from the point of view of the jism." And here Akbar is fighting. As Akbar was ambushed from all sides, a person attacked him with a spear that hits his heart, that targeted his chest. And Hazrat Ali Akbar couldn't really control himself on the steed. He places both the hands in the neck of the horse. And Sayyid ibn Ta'us have a narration here. He says that the horse is a loyal animal. And usually when the rider places the hands in the neck of the horse returns back to the tent, returns back to where it comes from. However, what happened? I read in the riwayat that the back of Ali Akbar was hit with swords and he was cut into pieces. What happened? When Akbar places that hand in the neck of the horse, the blood of Akbar goes into the eyes of the horse. A man which Sayyid ibn Ta'uz investigates and find who was this man who takes the rein of the horse and brought him in middle of the enemies, and the enemies started attacking the back of Ali Akbar, and it says that Irban Irba, Hazrat Ali Akbar was cut into pieces. He was attacked. And you know what they were saying while they were attacking Hazrat Ali Akbar? They were saying that because you are Ali, we will attack you twice. Because they have that animosity of Ali in them, and they attacked Ali Akbar. And finally Ali Akbar couldn't really be on that steed, and he falls on the ground. Once he falls on the ground, he says, "Oh father, come to my aid." And the Ravi reports, and the narrator reports that Imam Hussein alayhi salam came swiftly and fastly to the battlefield like a falcon goes towards the prey. As he arrives, and there was dust all over the place, Imam Hussein alayhi salam throws himself onto the ground to really reach Ali Akbar. He says, "Oh Ali Akbar, oh son, call me. I cannot really see," because the father have gone blind. He cannot really see in pain. And then he says, "Call me, O Akbar, where you are." With the sound of Ali Akbar, finally he reaches to Ali Akbar. When he reaches to Ali Akbar, he sees Ali Akbar in this state, on the ground. It is a bloodbath. And he says, "Oh Akbar, place your hand in my neck." And then Ali Akbar cannot really speak, because they say that the blood was stuck in his throat. And Imam Hussein, he pulled the blood out from the throat. "Oh Akbar, speak to me. Oh Akbar, why don't you place both the hands in my neck?" Ali Akbar was hiding something, and that was the head of the spear that was embedded in his chest, and he does not want the father to see that. And when he places both the hands and the father sees the head of the spear stuck in his chest, the father says, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." The time have arrived. And then here the father is trying to speak to Ali Akbar alayhi salam. These enemies gathered around Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You know what they were doing? They were clapping. They were laughing on the father. This old father trying to have few moments with the son, but he cannot. They say that Imam Hussein would leave Ali Akbar and will fight the enemies and send them behind, will come back to Akbar and once again try to speak to Ali Akbar alayhi salam. And finally Ali Akbar alayhi salam is in pain with that spear in his chest, and they say Imam Hussein alayhi salam placed the knee on the ground and pulled that spear out, and there was a fountain of blood that came, and Imam Hussein placed this blood on his beard, and he says, "This is how I will meet my Rasulullah in the hereafter. And this was the time that Zainab says that I saw Ali Akbar, I saw my brother Hussein in full of sorrow and pain, and I thought my Hussein will his spirit, his soul will leave the body because of the pain that he has. Because Imam Hussein says that life is not worth after I have lost my son. And here the narrator reports that all of a sudden I saw a lady coming out of the tent, and this lady comes out of the tent. There is Hussein and Akbar all alone left here, and here Zainab comes out of the tent, places the hand on the shoulder of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He says, "Oh my brother, may Allah accept your sacrifice." Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. A mother who did not come out to the bodies of her own son, but here she comes out to give condolences to the brother, because she realizes that the ruh of Hussein will leave with the pain of Akbar. And there was another time where she comes to Imam Zainul Abidin, the son, and says, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." When Zainul Abidin saw the body of Hussein in that state, and here is Zainab, and here is Ali Akbar and Imam Hussein all alone. And how can they take this body of Ali Akbar alayhi salam back to the tent, back to the mother? Layla is waiting in the tent. How they will take? And here's all alone Imam Hussein, and he calls the young ones of Bani Hashim, "Come to my aid, come to my help. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ala la'natullah ala qawm az-zalimin. Sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayyamun qalibin yanqalibun."
Ali Akbar, I cannot bear to see the spear in your heart. It breaks my heart seeing you falling apart. They have cut your body in pieces. From grief my soul's about to depart. As Maulana said, when Imam Hussein finally got to the body of Ali Akbar, he didn't come down from the horse. The Maqtal says, فَسَقَطَ مِنَ الْفَرَاسِ. Saqata means he crashed down, he fell down to the ground with his face. Just like when Amir al-Mu'mineen was given the news by Hasanain, مَاتَتْ أُمُّنَا فَاطِمَةً. Oh Father, our mother Fatima passed away. They say Amir al-Mu'mineen fell to the ground with his face. Ali, Ali, Ali Jar. Ali, Ali, Ali Jar. The only thing that Imam Hussein could do to calm himself down was وَوَضَعَ خَدَّهُ عَلَى خَدَّهُ. He placed his cheek on the cheek of Ali Akbar. ورفع الحسين صوته بالبكاء. Then Imam Hussein began crying out loudly, why فغتوه بالسيوف اربا مربا. He couldn't believe what had the enemies done to his Ali Akbar. Hussein, Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. chest fell apart. Picked your chest but your waist fell apart. I wanna take you back to the tents, but your body is falling apart. What is the meaning of erban erba? فَقَطَّعُوهُ means that they cut him into pieces. But what is the meaning of erban erba? They say the body of Imam Hussein had so many wounds, so many injuries, but they didn't say erban erba for the body of Imam Hussein. The body of Aban Faz had so many cuts, so many injuries, to the extent that they couldn't bring the body back. They buried him farther away. But even at that point they didn't say erban erba. Let me give you an example. Ya Sahib Zaman, I ask for forgiveness. If you go to a store, you buy meat, you come to the house, you want to cut the meat into small chunks, fine little pieces, that is erban erba. Hussein, Hussein, Hussein. No wonder Imam Hussein couldn't bring back the body of Ali Akbar. One of the Maghatas said he opened his abba, placed it on the ground. He began picking up pieces and pieces of the body of Ali Akbar. Yeah. But then they say he stopped. Why? وخرجت زينب أخت الحسين تنادى يا أخي يا وابن أخي يا. Because Zainab came, Zainab came, Zainab came. Imam Hussein said فأخذ الحسين برأسها فرده إلى الفسطاط. Imam Hussein said Zainab go back, Zainab go back. Imam Hussein doesn't want Zainab to see Ali Akbar cut into pieces. But let me stop. For those of us who've been to Karbala, if you've been to Mukhayyam, to Khaymagah, you take a walk to get to Tal Zainabiyya. Then you have to walk further to get to the grave of Imam Hussein. But you have to walk really, really far away to get to Maham Ali Akbar. That means Zainab came all the way from Khaymagah to the heart of the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, while all these men are watching. But Zainab came with the youth of Bani Hashim. Zainab came with Abbas. But a day will come, Zainab will be all alone, surrounded by these haramis in Karbala, to Kufa, to Sham. Then they say Imam Hussein called the youth of Bani Hashim to come. Oh, the youth of Bani Hashim, come and help, come and help, come and help. Pick up the body of Akbar, come and help, come and help, come and help.